2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports will compete as open cars in 2025. Bowman Gray Stadium is getting some much needed upgrades before the NASCAR Clash. And is there some drama surrounding Ryan Preece and Stewart Haas Racing after last weekend's championship finale in Phoenix? Welcome back to Break Hard. I'm Matt. One thing I think I won't complain about in 2025 is how long it takes for NASCAR races to start, because after trying to watch the Mike Tyson-Jake Paul fight on Friday night, boxing matches take forever. They just continually drag on and on and on and on. And there's so much downtime. I felt like I was watching the Chili Bowl there for a while. And then I watched an old man go out and get beat up by a guy 30 years his younger. And I was like, this is like watching Jimmy Johnson go out and race his select races in NASCAR. And it was unfortunate. But at the same time, like, hey, if they want to be out there and compete, I'm totally fine with it. Speaking of competing, though, what heck of a segue right there. It's a professional. Nobody else is doing stuff like this. Speaking of competing, though, 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports announced on Saturday morning that they will compete as open teams in 2025 after coming to, well, not an agreement, but NASCAR removed the clause that is in the open agreement that would not allow them to compete unless they signed it, which would also take away their right to, or their ability rather, to continue their lawsuit against NASCAR. NASCAR went ahead and removed that clause. They can now compete as open cars in 2025 while their litigation against NASCAR continues. So the teams did not want to sign the open agreement because in the open agreement, there was a clause that ensured that they were not allowed to sue NASCAR for various different reasons. One of those reasons being, anti-competitive. Part of the team's request for an injunction was to have that section removed. So now that that's been removed, they can compete as open cars. The teams will continue their appeal for their, injunction request, which might not happen until March, depending on when if it does get expedited and if the courts can fit them in that December 10th through the 13th timeframe. If not, then it kind of looks like March 18th at the earliest, or March 14th, somewhere in that range at the earliest. But since that clause was removed from the open agreement, the teams can now compete starting the Daytona 500 as open cars, which is good news for everybody, right? Obviously, NASCAR has their ongoing court battle, but having competitive race cars on track is what they want at the end of the day, and having race cars show up is something that they would like to continue to see happen. So this is ultimately what the teams wanted. They wanted that clause removed so that they could sign this open agreement, and it wouldn't allow NASCAR to essentially kind of mousetrap them by, the team signing the agreement if this clause was still in there, and then NASCAR goes to court and they're like, well, you signed the agreement, so now you can't sue us and continue this litigation. Kind of like the person that tried to sue the Disney parks after they suffered an injury or allergic reaction or whatever it was there, and Disney's like, listen, you signed up for Disney Plus, so that takes away, any rights that you have. What happened here? Ultimately, this, I think, was the right decision on NASCAR's part, and was probably encouraged by their legal team to do this. Now we have to kind of wait around and see what happens. Monday, we should know if NASCAR is going to protest the, request to expedite the appeals process. If they do that and the court sides with that, like I said, it could be until the middle of March before this appeal gets heard. But we at least know 2311 Racing, Front Row Motorsports will be on the grid next year as open cars. Will they be at every race? It remains up in the air. But for now, they will at least be there as open cars. Bowman Gray Stadium is getting some much needed upgrades. I love Bowman Gray Stadium. I know a lot of people do. There's a lot of history there. There's a lot of tradition, but one thing that it lacks is some safety measures. The old guardrail, the old Armco guardrails, they served a purpose, right? But technology has advanced, safety has advanced to a point where those aren't the safest things anymore. And thankfully, we haven't had any major injuries at Bowman Gray Stadium. But with the NASCAR Cup Series going there to run the Clash in February 2nd, 8 p.m. on Fox, probably going to be a chilly one. There are still a few tickets available if you're interested in going. NASCAR decided that there had to be some safety upgrades here. So the old guardrail barriers have been taken out. They've been removed. They got out the big saws, cut them out, pulled them out, and they will be replaced with safer barriers for the 2025 season, which is good. That's safety. That's fine. I know there's probably some purists out there that are going to be upset about it. The Myers brothers, I think, probably understand why this is done. Tim Brown, the showstopper, Chris Fleming, I think they all understand why this is being done. And ultimately, it's for the best. So safer barriers will be added. And it appears that they're going to do the same type of safer barrier setup that they had at the LA Coliseum for the Clash, where there's not necessarily a concrete wall that's made behind it. And then, you get that whole essentially 18 to 24 inch foam block and then the wall. This looks to be more of the compact type of safer barrier that they ran at the Coliseum, using the existing structure that's already there, or in the case of the corners here, kind of taking the more compact approach to it, which I think is totally fine. It's for the best, like I said, for safety. They will also be adding in catch fences. Again, a safety measure, something that should absolutely be there for the safety of the fans, safety of the competitors, and the legality of, hosting a big event, and for insurance reasons as well. And then also they will have a new updated lighting system from Musco that will light up Bowman Gray Stadium better than it ever has been. They're also going to use some of the 2020 COVID relief money for this as well, which is, it was there. It was designated for motorsports in Winston-Salem, obviously for Bowman Gray Stadium. So this is a good use of the money for this upgrade to get this facility up to even better than it already was. I think I definitely have talked on here before about how I went there back in the spring for the first time to watch a race, and I thought that the amenities were really nice. It's easy to park. It's easy to get into. The staff is super welcoming, super nice. Plenty of bathrooms all over the concourse, or at least in the two big sections. Easy, area to get food and everything at. I really enjoyed my time at Bowman Gray Stadium, and I'm excited to watch the Cup Series race there for the Clash. I will not be in attendance. I will be in Colorado skiing, but I will be tuned in Sunday night, February 2nd, 8 p.m., 6 p.m. Mountain Time to watch this event happen, and I'm really excited to see how it plays out. Hopefully the weather cooperates. So after the NASCAR Championship finale last Sunday at Phoenix, the Stewart-Haas racing cars got together on the cooldown lap, did about half a lap, 3 wide for some photos, and then walked down pit road together, 3, best friends. Meanwhile, Ryan Preece was nowhere to be found. He's off being Steven Glansberg somewhere, while the other 3 were mucking it up on pit road like they were Evan, Seth, and McLovin, and seemingly having a great time going back having beers, and Ryan Preece was absent from all of this. So what exactly happened here? Well, the radio transmissions came out during the week from both the 10 car of Noah Gragson as well as the 41 of Ryan Preece. I reached out to some people over at Stewart-Haas Racing, formerly of Stewart-Haas Racing, to be like, hey, what happened here? And I got a couple of varying different responses. But when you listen to the audio, the first one is from Noah Gragson, and it is his spotter telling him to, hey, catch up to the 14 car and the 4 car. We're going to do like this little 3 wide thing, as a farewell to Stewart-Haas Racing. They all catch up, and, it's asked over the radio, hey, where's the 41 car at? And over the 10 radio, you hear, quote, I ain't sure where the 41 is. Somebody else responds, 41's on pit road. To which somebody else responds, show me my surprise look. So there's obviously some disconnect there with Ryan Preece and Stewart-Haas Racing. That goes back to earlier in the season when Noah Gragson, Josh Berry, and Chase Briscoe got together and formed a study group. It would essentially be like, how can we make Stewart-Haas Racing stronger? How can we get better as drivers? And Ryan Preece wasn't included in that. And Preece even responded on Twitter and was like, I wasn't informed of this at all. So then I went ahead and listened to the 41 radio after the race.
Are you doing the 4 wide thing for the after the first race here with other cars? I don't think we're all doing it. 10-4. I don't think the 4 is doing it, right?
And it kind of varies because on the radio, you can hear his spotter be like, hey, are we doing this after the race? And Preece responds with, I don't think we're going to do it. I didn't think Josh was going to do it. And he just goes ahead and goes to pit road. He gets down to pit road, parks, and then the team asks him where he's at. And they're like, oh, you're already on pit road. So they kind of just carried on. It seems like it was just maybe a miscommunication. Didn't think it was going to happen, so he didn't stay out for it. That's fine. Completely understand that. Miscommunications happen. So Josh Berry responds on Twitter and he says, quote, there's really nothing to this. Ryan and I are good friends. Eddie mentioned them lining up, so I thought there may have been a direction from higher power, reride side by side for 50 feet, stop, back up because no one wanted to be part of the champion celebration, which is exactly what happens on the video. Yeah, maybe there is nothing really to this, and it just kind of falls, unfortunately, in line with what we heard earlier in the season with the study group. But it does seem like there was some sort of disconnect there, because I also don't think Ryan Preece went to any of the farewell toast outside of the SHR haulers post-race. It didn't appear that he was there in any photos, and the people I talked to at Stewart-Haas Racing didn't see him there either. He did walk out of the racetrack with Brad Keselowski, though, who is his future team owner. Maybe he's just ready to set the whole SHR chapter behind him and move on. But that's kind of what happened. Ultimately, none of it really matters because Stewart-Haas Racing doesn't exist anymore. These guys aren't teammates anymore. All four of them are off to different teams next year. Preece to RFK, Barry to the Wood Brothers, Gragson to Front Row Motorsports, and Chase Briscoe over to Joe Gibbs Racing. So really, it was just one last time for them all to be together, and they just didn't get the photo. But also, like Barry said, they couldn't really do much of a lap because Logano was down there doing his championship celebration, and you don't want to kind of run through four wide there while he's out there celebrating with his team and his family and everything. Would have been really weird. So yeah, I think that's probably what happened there. Miscommunication ultimately is what it seems like it came down to. And really, like Josh said, doesn't matter anymore. So let me know in the comments what you think about 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports operating as open teams next year, the Bowman Gray Stadium upgrades, as well as Ryan Preece, Stewart-Haas Racing. Like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on TikTok at BreakHard, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at BreakHardBlog.